Okay, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. This is Luca, not here to break even. And today I've got the pleasure of hosting here German, or is it Herman? I can never make it out. Herman. So German Ramirez. And long story short, this is part of the storyline that I propose as part of Not Here to Break Even, of interviewing people that are either experts in the digital marketing or coaching space. As it turns out to be, Herman is actually active in both. Herman, I would like you to be doing more of a talk than I am, and I would just start and handing over the ball to you by reading the first line that I see on your LinkedIn profile, which reads digital marketing and coach expert, or something similar. Who are you exactly?
I'm a person that likes to drive transformation and change. And I've been working in the area of digital for over 20 years, and regularly I keep getting insulted as a digital pioneer. And what I like to do is I like to discover new things, understand how they will be influencing and changing people's and business lives, and try to come up with proper ways to make sense out of it for business. So what I do in terms of business is provide companies with consulting support, and provide executives or senior managers, individuals with coaching support to properly understand how digital is impacting business and changing people's lives.
That's great. And Herman, I recognize, based on your very short introduction, that this is not the typical way that you interact with an audience. So even the more appreciated. Thanks. This is special, exclusive for us guys. So thanks, Herman. Herman, you look everything other than usual. Would you care actually? Oh, I mean, you have these awesome looks. You have these quite profound and deep profile, also LinkedIn. Maybe, do you mind me asking you a question here? Would you care to share any unusual? Let's start from the unusual fact or experience, of your past or of your younger age that you believe has marked your character in the way you are today and in your current profession?
Many things. Actually, well, we tend to be a summary of all the things that we experience. There are a few interesting experiences that I've had early in my career that have had a very profound impact on me. The first one, and probably one of the most remarkable ones, had to do with my absolutely very first experience with the internet. It was in the year 1994. Before we had the first internet browser, I was in university. I was finishing my studies, and I had my best friend at that time living in New Orleans, across the ocean. I was finishing my studies in Germany at that time. And obviously, as a student, you had absolutely no money and no means to travel, or phone calls at the time were extremely expensive. Skype wasn't in the pipeline. And I discovered the chat function of early monochrome computers through university networks, and I started chatting for the first time. Now, that in itself was a very slow. As I said, it was a monochrome screen. You had to type things and then wait, and then eventually, a minute later, somebody else will answer back, which is ancient history. But what I realized at that point is that this thing that they were calling the internet, that I was experimenting with, was making time and distance secondary. So all of a sudden, things that would have taken a lot of time, which is myself writing a letter, because there was no such thing as email. We were not using emails back then. Writing a letter would take 3 days to cross the ocean, or longer, and it would cost you money. And all of a sudden, being on the other side of the world, even on a different time zone, with no money, no cost, you could have a conversation with someone. This is 23 years ago, but it became clear to me in that very moment that this thing called the internet in some shape or form was going to change the world. So ever since that experience, I have been trying to understand it, to be at the forefront of it, and actually making sense of it for everything that I've been doing so far. My very first marketing experience in terms of professional usage of the internet was then in my very first job in the very first month. Actually, I believe it was in the very first week of my professional career where I approached my boss and said, I want to do something with the internet. And
what were you doing back then?
Sorry?
What were you doing back then?
I started my career as a junior product manager in international hair cosmetics.
All right.
In Düsseldorf. I was working at Schwarzkopf. It was at that time Henkel Cosmetic, and got purchased. They purchased Schwarzkopf, so it became Schwarzkopf and Henkel Cosmetics. This is 21 years ago, 22 years ago. Yeah, and I said, I want to do something with the internet. And the answer was very funny. The answer was the inter what? The internet. What is that? Well, it is, never mind. I promise it's not going to cost you any money. And I promise it won't distract me from my work and project as a product manager. I'd like to do it in my spare time, but I'd like to have official permission to use products to do so. Well, the answer basically, sorry, I'm gonna close the door. It's a little loud.
Sounded like a very powerful motorcycle.
It is. It wasn't. So sorry for that.
No worries.
Yeah, basically, I started experimenting with that with the net and developed the first e-commerce project in a Fortune 500 company worldwide. So
wow.
2 years before Google was founded, I was selling stuff online. Convinced it wasn't a huge business. It was what I used to call time to learn, not to earn. Yeah, that's how it all started, basically.
That's fantastic, Herman. And as we know it now, the rest, as they say, at least as far as the internet goes, up to today is history. But then I very much like what you just said. It's you said it's a phase to learn and not to earn. Yeah. How is these now, based on your experience as a professional, right, and not just an enthusiast anymore in the digital space, changed over the course of these 20 years?
Radically. It has it has changed everyone's lives. It has changed the way we communicate, we take decisions, we interact with each other, we extract and share and even construct information. It's starting to affect our lives in basically in every single possible way. It's taken over 20 years for that to happen, but the fact that I started so early and I've been developing skills, knowledge, and experience across that for so long is what then allowed me, or I believe allowed me, some little less than 5 years ago to start a business that is based on, building on that experience to help companies as well as individuals or executives to actually understand what has happened, because a lot of people are just waking up. Digital or internet is something we've been speaking about for a while. There's been a lot of talking, and it's only really lately, in the last 5 years, the companies have started putting it into the C-level agenda, have started investing significant amounts of money into developing new possibilities that companies that were considered startups are now eating everybody's breakfast. And that's something that has happened or peaked in the last 5 years. And basically it's given me the opportunity to, having started so early in the race, to provide people now with that experience to accelerate and avoid mistakes, because I might have made every single mistake you can think of. So that is also a huge advantage when you are providing consulting to other people.
Absolutely, Herman. And you're saying something that our audience would relate to very much, because I know for a fact that a good portion, probably around 50, if not a bit more percent of the subscribers, the active subscribers to Not Here to Break Even, are actually coming from a corporate background. So that means that they are either still today working as part of a corporate environment, or were up until a certain point in their life, professional life, working in the corporate environment, and something made them decide to actually use the digital opportunities to start off something new. So for themselves or within their corporation. So if you know, I know you are advising, you're consulting businesses. Are you also consulting individuals?
I do. Sometimes in the shape of startup founder groups, or coaching startups directly. And in some cases, basically coaching executives on a personal level who themselves want to become more, or want to gain a better understanding of what actually digital means. And so yes, do that too.
So if we can demystify that, because still today, Herman, I find many people are coming to me asking, what does digital mean? I mean, it's used sometimes as a buzzword. So what do you say to somebody like, what's your answer to that question?
Digital is a mindset. Digital is it's actually a word that is that we're using as a placeholder for change. Or lately, people are talking more about digital transformation.
Yeah.
To me, digital is it has less to do with technology and with applications and with IT, and all of that, of course, plays a role. But what it is, to me, it's the way we have changed our self-awareness as consumers, as employees, as citizens, as whatever you know, we all of us wear different hats. We are consumers, we are employees, we are citizens, and digital technologies have allowed us to actually claim a seat at the table and claim a different relationship and a different level of interaction between what used to be and what is now. We used to be consumers of information. We are now producers and consumers of information. We used to watch television. Now some of the most watched videos in the world have been created by people with an iPhone. So we have become journalists. We've become customer service agents. We've become product reviewers, but also we are product developers. Everyone is a journalist or a restaurant critic expert now on TripAdvisor. Everyone is an encyclopedia author on Wikipedia. Everyone is a product co-creator on platforms like Atito and idea sharing or crowdsourcing platforms. Everyone can be an investor. You don't need $5 million. You can do crowdfunding of something that you believe for $25. So
absolutely.
Basically what digital has done, it has changed our own understanding in our different roles and different hats we wear, and empowered us in a way that was never there before. And the realization of that power and how we deal and basically live that power and how we act upon it, that is the transformation effect behind it. And the technology is just the catalyzer. The technologies, the platforms, it's just a catalyzer. So you can use that, you can use all sorts of platforms for all sorts of things, but the technology behind it is just the driver. And the main change is the mindset of people.
All right. And I know that you said technology. Well, you're now saying that the access to, I'm using my words here to paraphrase what you just said, right? But you basically said that now the access to advanced technology platforms, I just mentioned one without making any publicity, Facebook, for example, has enabled people to transform their mindset. And so that has in turn changed the way they look at their own activity, knowing that if they post a message that can be instantly seen by thousands of people, potentially, even more. Is that what you mean?
Pretty much. It's one of the key drivers. To give you one example, in a few hours, with no coding or technological skills required, with no money required, any one of us, any one of your viewers could start a website, launch a YouTube channel, initiate a blog, establish a, you know, whatever, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, you name it, a profile, and within a few hours, and no money required, no technical skills, you have everything you need in the world to compete against CNN.
That's fantastic.
Now, of course, you don't have the brand awareness, the credibility, maybe the great or whatever journalists that CNN has, or the content they have, but your technical ability to participate in what is going on in the world and or drive the discussion of what is going on in the world is equal to it. And that is an incredible power. And interestingly enough, it is allowing what I've always believed to be the very core of digitalization, which is collective intelligence. Of course, not everything that's going on out there looks to many of us as highly intelligent.
Yes.
There is also a lot of rubbish and noise, and which might be funny at times, but
true.
But the possibility we have to basically bring ideas together, bring people together, and basically reach the world is amazing. Is amazing. You can build a global business where, you know, if you decide tomorrow, you know, this coffee cup, right? This coffee mug, I make them. I make them myself, and they are amazing. They're beautiful. They're cheap. I'm going to sell them worldwide. I'm going to become the largest coffee mug online seller in the world. I could. Years ago, it was absolutely unthinkable. That is the level of power, and people are starting to realize these abilities, and it's an incredible responsibility. And it's an incredible opportunity, and that's what's allowing so many changes, and that is what is disrupting and basically making interaction, information, commerce, all things liquid. That's what it's basically doing. It's liquid. It's like water. It no longer stops at the borders of countries, or within, of course, within regulations, etc. But at the borders of countries or languages or technical abilities, it's like water. It finds a way and it goes.
Fantastic, Herman. I would like to hit just the pause button for a second here, because I received questions like, since I started these, and I actually didn't start these venture of mine, the space of the digital marketing and the digital channels years ago. I've actually just started a few months back. I would like to leverage on what you said before, right? It's sort of a democratization of the technology, of the access to technology, where people now, it's, the ability of people to reach out with their messages, with their products, with their services, people around the globe is independent from up to a certain level. Oh, sorry, there was an echo there. Their technical knowledge. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me well?
I'm hearing you well.
Perfect. So I'm sorry, because I'm hearing a bad echo. So the question was, I need to get rid of these. Fine now as well?
Yep, it is.
Perfect. So the question was, many people here are actually watching my videos, reading the articles, connecting with me, because the message that I'm giving out is that the democratization of the technology can enable people who are, for whatever reason, not willing to continue any longer with activities or maybe with their job that they've been doing for a certain period of time in their life, to start something else. How do you see that, and how often do you see that in the context of individuals you're speaking with? I know you're mainly probably speaking with companies, but what does it look like when the Lucas of this world are coming to you? What's your message to them?
Be careful, first of all. The easier it is for people to, we see, I'm going to use a different analogy, a different example than what you referred to, which might help getting the picture better. in the past, it was extremely difficult to become a rock star, right? Now, with the invention of the casting shows that we are all familiar with, right? The American, and exactly, all of those. All of a sudden, within very few months, and without any specific, in some cases, even training, or you can become worldwide known. Thinking of Instagram influencers or YouTubers, people that started doing videos about makeup or fashion or technology, unboxing computers and unboxing phones and trying new hardware and filming themselves without any specific training or script or light or equipment or whatever, just, holding a phone to their faces, have to some extent managed to make it. The easier it is, the lower the entry barrier. First of all, the larger the line of people that will stand in front of that door. The easier it is to get in, the larger the line will be, and therefore the bigger the competition will become. So just because it is so easy and it is so cheap to build a business or start a blog, or doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to make it. And now, in the past, very few people started, only those who were absolutely convinced and absolutely committed and dedicated and hopefully skilled. Today, everyone just gives it a try. So first of all, be careful. Don't think that because it looks easy, it is easy, because competition is huge. First. Second, don't try. If you want to do it, damn it, do it right. Do it right. If you try half-hearted, you're going to be eaten alive, but everyone else in the line that thinks that they are more talented or more committed to their own success than you are. And maybe before you start going into all of that, if people that would like to change things and have things be different in the corporate world, all started to flee the corporate world, it's going to be a very slow death of the corporate world, but there will be a death. So there is this saying that says, love it, change it, or leave it. Totally understand that you might not love it, but before you leave it, have you really sincerely tried to change it? Because there are massive opportunities and a lot of disruption is going to start to happen in the large corporate world. It's starting already. Quick anecdote, a large financial services company that I've worked with as a client is starting now an initiative in which they provide training. I will be providing that training to people that want to build their own business in the same industry, in the same area, to eventually end up investing in people, skills, and startups that may become a competition to my own business, because I'm a large financial services company and fintech is one of the largest trends in this area, and I'm going to provide training and support and even financing eventually to small fintech startups that tomorrow might become my competitors, because I know that might be helping me be more successful, and over time I might buy them back or be an investor in them. So there is a lot of things that are starting to change in the corporate world too. Don't give up on it that easily, and don't think that it is an easier path outside. So yeah, those will be some of the advices I'd give at that stage.
This is awesome advices, first of all, and not obvious ones, Herman, because normally the people I interact with in the context of Not Yet to Break Even, and people who I've also interviewed so far, are people who were part of the corporate world. Maybe they left just at the moment where they couldn't see this happening, what you said, this transformation, or when they reached a point in which they are just saying, okay, no matter what, you know what, I made up my mind. So the message that you're giving is very refreshing. So I appreciate that. And it's still, though, for me, going in parallel with investing in one's own skills and investing also in the intrapreneurial abilities of the people.
Yeah.
So just now for a second, though, concentrating on that slice of people
Yeah.
who, for whatever reason, really decided, I got it, Herman. It's good, but I really made up my mind. You know, I would like to really start creating my own business because I want to make digital,
Yeah.
whatever now we can refer to here as digital, my main activity, my main income generating activity. So if you had just a simple steps formula for them to get started, what would that be?
Oh, it's so much more simple than you might think in concept, and so difficult indeed in realization. I would like to ask you to take a post-it. You know post-its, right? You take a post-it, small little yellow post-it, and in normal writing, in that post-it, you're going to answer the question, why does the world need your shit? Whatever,
okay, that's correct.
Whatever that is that you want to be, you want to, you know, the coffee mug example from earlier, which is the first thing I had here on my desk. Write it down and make sure that you put it down in that post-it. If you don't manage to put it in that post-it, or what you put on that post-it isn't solid enough, keep working, keep looking, keep thinking, keep filtering, keep challenging until you have your post-it. And once you got your post-it, that is the core of everything you need in your business. Why does the world need my shit? That is a question that very few people are able to answer in a post-it. I've been saying that for many years. Everybody talks about elevator pitches, and the elevator pitches are dead because elevator rides are too long. All right,
I love that.
Forget elevator pitches. Think of post-it pitches. If you cannot tell me in one simple post-it why, not what, not how, not when, not where. Why does the world need your shit? Then you have no business. And if you are able to, then you have the beginning of a possibly successful business. Without it, don't even start.
It's very nice, and you took now the parallel of the post-it and converted it back from the digital space we're now talking about to very still used, even in their digital form, but especially in their paper form, post-its.
Yeah.
And also these makes you guys write stuff down. And but I am a strong believer in what you just said. I mean, understanding the why is important in everything. And especially if you're thinking to look to replace your activity, maybe in a corporate job or wherever else, into creating your own, as somebody said, in the digital space, that's something you really need to be, first of all, being able to give an answer to, and then be motivated about. Okay, and wow, we covered actually very much in very little time. But you know, you said it yourself that getting back about your own self, Herman. You worked in a corporate space. You transitioned into your own, you know, digital related activities with your own company. How did this transition work for you? Because we're not talking about 20 years back, right?
No.
We're talking.
No, actually. Well, first of all, there tends to be not an obsession, but there tends to be a lot of talk about the difference between being self-employed, being an entrepreneur, being independent, and being employed, being in the corporate world, honestly, I never got that difference. I never understood what people try to make a difference. I've always been an entrepreneur that had different types of legal formatted contracts. Sometimes it was an employment contract under the employment laws of any given country. I've worked in different countries across my career, so I was under them. And sometimes I was the founder of a startup, and I was an engineer. I never really made a difference. I never noticed the difference. Whatever it is you do have to work hard. You do have to like what it is you do, and you gotta be good at it. Whether you are an employee or a corporate, or an entrepreneur, there is no major difference. So for me, since I never experienced or noticed any difference between those, I started my career as, if you wish, legal employee, moved on to an entrepreneur, then moved on to an employee, and then moved on again to an entrepreneur. And to be very honest, I might see myself running a corporate job again in 5 years. I don't see the difference. As long as what it is you focus on is, what will I be doing? And in terms of what I'm doing, am I going to make enough money? Am I going to learn and develop? And am I going to be good at it? And am I going to enjoy it? If you answer those questions, to be honest, no matter where you put your signature, it makes no difference, because you're signing a contract with yourself.
Absolutely. This is very important, although we know that conventions are also important. So I will be even more specific and ask another question, right? And it is mostly for those who are considering they don't want to be salaried anymore. They really want to create something for and by themselves, creating their own business, creating their own, you said it yourself, it's a different legal entity. You're paid by something or somebody else, in this case, directly by your own activities, creating your own startup. But if you had just one other advice, like, let's start even before that, right? I am coming to you and I am a middle-aged person, 37 years of age, so I'm in my prime. I'm coming to you, Herman, and said, listen, Herman, I've really had enough of being an employee. I want to transition and create my own company. I know that's independent from, and now I'm not even talking about what kind of company. It could be in a digital space, it could be a bakery, it could be whatever, a winemaking company. What would be the best advice you can possibly think of for this person? To me.
Yeah, well, the first, I would ask you a question, which is, where is my Post-it?
All right, further to that. Let's say I got my Post-it.
If you got a Post-it, I would encourage you to, whatever it is that you're trying to build, try to double your cost, double your time, cut in half what it is the thing you're going to be making, and if it still makes sense for you, then start. If it doesn't, go back to rethink about it. I have, no matter, without going into details, but I received, I get this quite often, received, 2-3 days ago, received a plan, small executive summary of an investment plan of a very, very smart person. And the idea in the Post-it made sense when we spoke about it a while ago. But then, looking into those numbers, you sometimes figure, okay, well, just because you call something a worst case scenario and it still works, doesn't mean that that is really your worst case scenario. People have very often, as for the same reason as we have a hard time understanding what a best case scenario, a really blow up base case scenario could be. The guys, when they started with Facebook or Snapchat, or they do you think that their best case scenario was, I'm going to be one of the largest and most influential companies in the world. I'm going to transform people's lives, and I'm going to be multi-trillion billionaire. No, that was not the best case scenario. Right? And the worst case scenario of most business that I see is not, I go out of business and need to get back into a job. That is what I want to see as a worst case scenario anywhere. It's like, okay, worst case scenario is this doesn't work. A worst case scenario that you're planning for. So therefore, think, what do you do if it lasts longer? If you take twice the time, what are you going to do if it costs double as much? Where are you going to find that money? And what are you going to do if you don't manage to sell half of what you say? Is that still viable? Those are questions that very few people end up asking themselves. Really profoundly critical.
And that's, Herman, this is very good. This is, you're very direct. And I remember the very first time we talked over the phone. And by the way, Herman and I have not been known each other since years. Literally, this is the second time we speak. And much to my regret, but I'm going to make a promise here that it's not going to be the last. I'm giving for granted that Herman will be still available for us. And it is this. You, in our first conversation, I remember, asked me pretty much same questions that you're posing to the audience. And you came back with a very strong comment in form of a question. Have you worked on your plan, or how does your plan look like? And then you expanded on talking about reverse engineering, what it is that you want to achieve, you know, taking a stepwards approach to understanding where you're starting from. Do you remember that? Would you care to expand it? Because I found it deeply, deeply constructive.
I I think it was along the lines, you know, because a lot of people, when they start a business or start an idea, they think of great things. You know, for example, in your case, you do have a post-it. Why does the world need your shit? There is an answer to that question, but how are you going to make a living out of it? Which is then the second question. This is where I was referring to the plan. And a question that I like to ask is, other than the source of business, other than thinking of who your customers will be, or where does the money stand today that you want to be making tomorrow? Right? If you want to start an NGO or a non-profit or whatever organization, then different rules apply, but most people don't, for logical reasons. And however ambitious you are or not, what type of budget, what type of wallet will you be tapping in? People stop too superficially when they look into target groups. So like, I'm going to be targeting learning and development departments of large organizations. Okay, fair enough. How big is their budget? How are they spending the money today that you want them to spend on you? And how exactly are you going to convince them to reroute the money that goes there to the money that goes to you, right? People used to spend money on horses and carriages and building places where they would keep their horses, and then somebody started telling them that now you're going to start paying money in cars, and you need to start building garages, and you don't need to feed your car, but you need to start building gas stations. And is all of that going to happen? Are you going to make it happen? And what are people spending the money for specifically today that you want them to spend with you, and how are you going to be doing that? So that's the basically reverse engineering of declaring a source of business. People tend to be too superficial when it comes to that, and therefore also too optimistic. The world is not waiting for you to change habits. Actually, the world will refuse. By all means, anytime you try to change their habits, and only if the reasons why you change your habits, or you ask them to change their habits, only if the reasons are significantly compelling, only then they might.
Herman, this looks more like a philosophy lesson that I remember from my earlier days at school, but it's essential. People think that the world of digital is all technology, and sometimes also people think, oh, you know, how can I keep thriving, growing, developing in this world where, for example, I'm not 18 anymore, I'm 40 or I'm 50 or just 30 something, and I don't feel like I have I'm not even just talking about passion, but the technical abilities to do that. I think that your message is a very positive one, and that says, forget about the technicalities, work on what makes sense, because ultimately digital, which by the way, guys, comes from the Latin and means digit, the finger, is all about dealing with people. Yeah. So Herman, if you had, because we are closing to 45 minutes, and as much as I would love you to be here, definitely we'll have other sessions if you're okay with it. What would be your last message, any kind of message that you would like to give to the audience?
Ooh, any kind of message.
Yes.
Well, and probably one of the last pieces of advice is, whenever you start something, make sure that you plan for, you hope for the best, but make sure that you plan for the worst, and you have to define what are you going to do if it doesn't work? What are you going to do if it doesn't work? Because, and this is not me being negative, this is just simple statistic. 9 out of 10 business do not survive 12 or 18 months. Don't remember exactly. So what are you going to do if in 12 or 18 months this doesn't work? And it maybe eventually even more important, when will you decide that that is it? It is, I've seen very, very talented, very experienced, very smart, good-hearted people developing or trying to develop business and throwing good money after bad money and trying to involve their families and trying to get another 2 months. And if this investment round works and if the prototype and we can start, you need to define for yourself, if the 30th of March comes and milestone A, B, C hasn't happened, I'm going to kill this beast before it kills me. And that doesn't make you a failed entrepreneur. That makes you eventually a future, more experienced, successful entrepreneur. My very first business was probably the most difficult thing to close. The very first company I ever founded. This was the year 1999 and 2000. I had no technical skills at all. I still don't have profound technical skills. I had students of the Telecommunications University of Vienna as my first employees. I had a team of 15 programmers developing the grandfather of WhatsApp. I was convinced that quick, short mobile interactions in groups was going to be a huge thing. So I had the idea of the first SMS chat group in the world, and I made it happen. Well, I didn't, because I wasn't technically capable. I had people that made it happen. It took how long? This was 2000. It took WhatsApp another 10 years to reboot that idea. And by all means, I'm not claiming or pretending that this was my idea. And no merit at all, because a good idea, if you don't make it successful, it's just a good idea. And the world, my wall is full of beautiful Post-its, believe me. But I cannot imagine what my life would have been if I would have stick to that and tried to run for another 10 years. Until the day that it started actually being technically, economically possible, viable, and then try to make that happen to then eventually sell it to Facebook for many, many, many billions of dollars. So did I fail as an entrepreneur when I started that? Well, my company, actually the company still exists today, funny enough. We repositioned the company to do something else. I sold my shares in it, and my technology partners are now developing still today technology, mobile applications for other companies. But the core idea was, we're going to build what now today is known as WhatsApp of the world. It didn't work. It didn't work. I stepped out, fully convinced that the idea was very, very good. And obviously the purchase of WhatsApp by Facebook proves that the idea was very, very good. But even if that idea was good, nothing tells me that if I had sticked another 10 years until the market was ready with it and surviving from 99-cent noodles, cups and things like that, that I would have been the one to make it happen successfully and sell it to Facebook for $19 billion. So decide when you're going to stop. And and have the courage. If you have the courage to start, you need to plan in advance when and under which conditions you would have the courage to stop.
Thanks very much, Herman. And last closing comment from my side, guys. This is extremely important, understanding when to stop, even though we ultimately always, or very often you hear me talking about get started. Yes, get started in things that make sense. Of course, you need to figure out when you also need to draw the line and to stop. But if you like to get started exploring, what the opportunities might be in the digital marketing space, keep following nothertobreakeven.com and find more about the blog, about the newsletter, about the services. And Herman, what if people want to talk to you, reach you? What's the best way for them to do that?
There is hardly any way not to be able to do it.
Choose your preferred one.
So, probably LinkedIn is a great place to start getting to know people for a very simple reason, which is when you receive LinkedIn, the beauty about LinkedIn is that you have like a standardized profile that gives you a pretty good understanding of what people have done, what their interests might be, if there might be common ground, etc. And for that, it's extremely helpful and interesting. One piece of advice in that context, not in regards to me specifically, just in regards to anybody, please, people in the world, stop confusing the efficiency of networking with the need to collect business cards with unpersonalized and unauthentic communication, right? With all the efficiency of digital communication, it's still humans communicating. Let's not convert ourselves from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde when we get in front of a screen. A lot of people do that. I consider it rude, but other than rude, especially, I consider it a massively missed opportunity to show your human and authentic side of yourself. So, but yeah, feel free to connect, to approach, to invite me on LinkedIn, or otherwise sparkandstrategy.com. You'll find a lot of information there, and sometimes I write articles. You might see me in conferences, etc. So it's if you want to find me, you'll find me, and I'll be obviously honored and happy if you try.
Thank you so much. Herman has been one of the most open people I have found in this space. So LinkedIn, German Ramirez. I will post along with this video and the transcript the link to his profile. Guys, I will see you soon to your success. Bye. Thanks, Herman.
A pleasure, Luca. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you.